Hi, everyone. So let's give a round of applause to Elizabeth Strickler from Georgia State University, please.
All right, thank you. I'm going to put this down here, just in case. Hey, everyone. I guess I don't need to stand there, just need this. Okay, there we go. So yes, I'm Elizabeth Strickler, and I'm from Georgia State University, and I'm going to talk about the virtual is real, but how do we make it right? And basically, what I'm going to attempt to do is explain what I think Web3 is, and how NFTs and the metaverse are a part of all of that. And so I'm going to take you on a journey. This is super casual, and I hope you have questions at the end. So yeah, I did a TED Talk. It's probably how people find me to come talk to these kinds of events. But I did a TED Talk on NFTs, and when you do a TED Talk, they give you a coach. And the coach helps you sort of put the talk together. And my coach was a puppeteer, and she didn't know anything about technology. So I kept trying to explain to her what NFTs were, and she was like, I do not get it. It does not make any sense. And so I kept attempting to explain it to her, and because I come from a innovative media, game design, and game development background, I started to realize that the only way to explain NFTs and have them make sense was to bring up the concept of the metaverse or virtual worlds and why they matter. And so that was it was a discovery for myself when I was trying to explain it to people. So I'm going to kind of take you all on a similar but kind of longer journey of how I try to explain these kinds of things. But yeah, just to, I come from Georgia State University, which is in downtown Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States. You might not have ever heard of us, but I'm going to tell you a few things. But I helped design a 3-story virtual reality production studio. And that's some of the images that you see here at our facility in Atlanta. But what's important is that, like I told you all, I'm from Georgia. So we have something called tax incentives, and that garners all the film and television to be created in Georgia. So we vacillate between number 1 to number 3 of the largest producers of film and television. You all might not know that, but we're also one of the hip hop capitals of the world. So we all like to say Atlanta influences everything. So I'm telling you all that for a couple of reasons. One is because, some of you all have expressed to me that you like Marvel films. All Marvel films are made in Georgia. And so we get to experiment on how worlds are built. And you all might not know this, but film production is moving into game engines and game design. That's how the trajectory of how film and television is made. And we're sort of at the forefront of all that. But the other thing that I'm telling you is that culture matters. We consider ourselves one of the cultural capitals of the world. You all know that culture matters. You probably talk a lot about what it means to be Portuguese and why the food matters, why the music matters, and all of that. But what we're starting to try to figure out and understand is what matters in our digital culture. And it's taking us a while to figure that out. And Web3 is at the intersection of technology and culture. And we're starting to determine, to try to understand how to interpret and make meaning of those experiences. So one of the things I like to say is everything in the real world will be recreated in the virtual world. Digital twinning. Digital twins of humans, digital twins of cities. But reality does not apply. I just started the slide, I did not finish it. What in the real world does not exist in virtual worlds, right? gravity, temperature, all kinds of what bounds us to the real world does not apply in the virtual world. But what does apply and what does matter in those virtual worlds? We're going to talk about that. So I find this slide quite funny because this is sort of the idea of abundance versus scarcity. So one of the things that I sort of described in my TED Talk about why NFTs matter is that in the real world, you cannot make a copy of a piece of toast, right? But in the digital world, you can make a copy of everything. And so, the reason why I even cared about NFTs was not because of cryptocurrency and investing, but because my students are artists. And many of the students create digital assets. And the only way to protect a digital asset is by using something that originated with Bitcoin, which is the technology blockchain. Blockchain figured out how to take money from one person digitally and give it to another person digitally and not make a copy of it. That's the trick of blockchains. That's a simple description of what a blockchain is. But the thing is that then you need to take that with any digital asset that you create, a WAV file, a .mov file, a programming file that you've made, a .jpeg, any digital file that you make, which is most of your digital labor. Most of you all, that's what you do when you, at the end of the day, it results in some kind of digital file. Well, the NFT is to protect it, and not to protect it, the main thing is to protect your digital labor so that it can't be copied and replicated. So that's what the trick of the NFT is. NFT, what does it stand for? Non-fungible token. It's a really, really crazy word. The main thing is that non-fungible means that it's not exchangeable. So like one Van Gogh painting and a Monet painting are non-fungible, meaning you cannot trade one for the other. But a dollar or a euro, you can trade one for the other. So they're fungible, right? Most things in the world are non-fungible. Most of us are non-fungible. Most of us are unique, etc. So just going to go back to a few simple descriptions just so we can kind of, I'm going to go roundabout this and give you a couple of concepts. Okay, Web 1, back in my day, is when we were connected to information. So mostly what we did was read the internet. There was things like, instead of having like encyclopedias and dictionaries and, all kinds of literature or reading, it was digitized and put on the internet, and then you could get access to all kinds of knowledge that other people had created. It was amazing. Web 2 is what we call read-write, meaning you could read other people's stuff, but you could also write on Twitter, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram. You can read, view other people's stuff, and you can write and put your own stuff up there. We all know who owns that data, though, right? Meta, Google, Facebook. You don't own your data when you post on Instagram. They own it because they can block you out. They can lock you out. Even in games like Fortnite, you create the content, but you can always be blocked from getting access to your data or anything that you create in those worlds. So that's what read-write is, and that's what Web 2 is. The promise of Web 3 is to read, write, and own your own data. That's the key to what people anticipate will happen in Web 3. And that's what the NFT does. It allows you to own your own data and put parameters around it so that it cannot be copied. So Web 3, a continuum of the internet that is also a digital-first reality for consumers at the intersection of technology and culture, powered by the ethos of co-creation, creating an immersive and personalized and ownable internet, blah, blah, blah. Let's talk about shoes. Okay, so for the next 10 or 15 minutes, I'm mostly going to talk about shoes, okay? Because it's something that I know you all can probably relate to, and because it's fashion. So I did a similar talk to this in Saudi Arabia, and I asked the women there, they don't get to wear a lot of different clothes out, but they really are into shoes. And so they were showing me some shoes that they thought were fashionable. So, but youth, you all, 60% of Gen Z and 62% of millennials think that how you present yourself online is more important than how you present yourself in person. So that's why you see people, doing really silly things with selfie sticks and taking pictures of food and, taking selfies, et cetera, because you want to, you're looking to impress people online. You're looking to connect with people online. So let's go back to shoes. My son is a similar age of you all. He just went off to college a year ago, and I asked him to pack first because he's going out of state. And he came down, the first suitcase he came down with was this, a suitcase filled with shoes. Okay, so you can already know a little bit about him and what he values just by looking at this suitcase full of shoes. Think about yourselves. Most of you all probably have more shoes than this, and probably way more shoes than you need, right? Because how many pairs of shoes do you need to protect your soles and keep your feet warm and keep your feet dry? Not that many. But I assure you, you all probably have way more shoes, and you think about the shoes that you put on. Why is that? Because culture matters, because you're trying to connect with people. You're trying to attract a mate. You're trying to find your tribe. You're trying to flex. You're trying to show what matters to you and what you value, right? You're looking for your community and connection. Yeah, so shoes have meaning, and they connect you to culture. Okay, so this is a friend of mine, Kadeen James, and she's one of the lead digital fashion moguls. And you all recognize this as an avatar, I assume. Okay, so in 2021, this person, Fewocious, was a painter and also created digital art. And they put their paintings on a pair of shoes. And they made the shoes digital shoes. And this was right at the burgeoning, event in early 2021 of when NFTs had their second sort of resurgence. CryptoKitties back in 2017 was sort of the first round of NFTs. So there was another company that was also starting to do this, probably looking around at internet culture and trying to understand what was going on, and they created digital shoes. These digital Gucci shoes that you can never wear, but your avatar can. Now they have Gucci World and Roblox, and some of their purses and shoes cost more than $100,000. So, right around the same time, Artifact, RTFKT, because millennials don't like vowels, I guess, they bought, they were bought. Artifact was creating digital shoes as well, along with that guy Fewocious, and Nike bought them. Oh, and then another company called Cult and Rain started creating their own sneakers, except for they were making them phygital. Phygital means that you get a real pair of sneakers and you have a connected by the blockchain digital pair of sneakers that your avatar can wear. and they're connected through an NFC chip. So, not to be outdone, Nike started creating their fidgetals. So they create both sneakers and sweatshirts that you get a real sweatshirt with a real QR code that is non-fungible, meaning each sweatshirt that they sell is different because the QR code is different, and the QR code connects the real sweatshirt to the digital sweatshirt like this. And back to that concept of the fact that what can you do in the virtual world that you cannot do in the real world? Well, in the real world, the sweatshirt keeps you warm. In the digital world, the sweatshirt lets you fly. And so they're giving utility to the digital items because you don't need to stay warm in the metaverse. But flying is a very useful skill. So here's some more avatars wearing their digital sweatshirts. And now, like I was saying, co-creation is another really key concept in Web3. So Nike now has a platform where you can go online and create digital sneakers and then sell them on their marketplace as NFTs. And so they're trying to onboard a lot of different people to create digital fashion in sort of in a low stakes way. So that's why, owning things in the virtual world matters. And, so that's why this sort of NFT thing, because if you can just right click and steal everything and, in the digital world, then your creative labor and the things that you've done and the things that you've bought have no value. So it is a little bit of artificial scarcity, right? Back to the picture of the toast being copied. So it is a little bit of like, wait a minute, maybe we shouldn't allow everything to be so abundant and copyable. That's one of the tensions, and I'm going to talk a lot about this because I'm not here to force you all to believe in that the metaverse is, the next second coming, or that you need to go out and buy a bunch of NFTs. I'm here to get you all to understand this realm and understand sort of the tensions that are in Web3, so that you all can be better consumers and better creators and better, CEOs when you own and start companies. Starbucks also has a whole NFT initiative. And really, when you think of NFTs, another way that you can think of it is really just like a point system or any kind of digital collectible. So basically, Starbucks has just moved their their sort of point system, their loyalty program, onto the blockchain so that they can constantly track and trace and give new kinds of utility to your points and your loyalty to their brand. Okay, so one of the things that I like to talk about is that, again, we're trying to make sense of the digital world. That's what that's what the metaverse is trying to make data have a visual, audible, immersive element that we already have in the real world. It's going to take a long time, and it's going to take a lot of thinking about what's better in the real world, IRL, and what's better in the virtual world, and how can the two enhance each other. So here's one way. These are all virtual sets and virtual stages. So there's an academy that is now starting to use virtual sets to train on how to work on a soundstage, how to use motion capture, how to set up a television backdrop. So you can do So the virtual worlds and virtual simulations are excellent at doing hard or complicated or limited things virtually before you do them IRL. One of the very typical things for using virtual worlds or virtual simulations is like how to, work on an airplane engine. So you get to do that in the virtual world and get your sort of bearings and get a kind of understanding and exposure before you actually go and do the thing. This past summer, my son, who's the same age as you all, he was a quality assurance engineer, which you all might know that's like sort of just making sure the software works kind of person, except that it was in virtual reality, and it was for a company called Axon. And what they were doing is training police so that they, in America we have a lot of guns, and so he was training police, the software trained police to be put in really complicated scenarios to understand when to use their gun and when to use their taser. And so he had a fake Glock and a fake taser to help understand, okay, if somebody's coming running at you, but they only have a knife, do you shoot or do you tase? And so he was a quality assurance engineer to help people train in these really complicated situations that's really hard to simulate in the real world. So that's a great use of these spaces. So just to simplify things again, don't let people snow you with these concepts. Cryptocurrency is just digital money. Sure, it gets way more complicated than that, but it's a great way to kind of get started. NFTs are just digital goods. And blockchains are really just public ledgers of transactions and ownership. It's just a spreadsheet or a database that's got some security on it, but and it gets way more technical than that, but that's just a good way to just understand the basic layers of that. Okay, so like I told you, there's tensions, and I'm really here to get you all to ask questions. Okay, so and understand the tensions, because you all are sophisticated people who will be working in these worlds a lot. So I was talking about digital labor and digital ownership and how important that is. And then along comes Mid-Journey. And you all know what text to image generation, image generations are. I'm pretty sure you do, because you had an AI day here. But basically you can say, here's the prompt, you can see it at the bottom here. Make me a machine that can create anything. And Mid-Journey gave me this, which was pretty cool. And then I said, okay, make me an AI machine that can create anything. I said that make me a person that can create. I forget the prompt. I'm sorry, because I made the slide incorrectly. But you all can imagine what the prompt would be, and so it made this for me, which is amazing. So then I was like, those Gucci sneakers were really ugly. So I said, make me some Gucci virtual 25 sneakers, because I guess that's what the name of those were. It made these for me. And then, so then I made a different set. It made these. And then I said, make me some fidgetal sneakers. And it made these for me. So then I was co-presenting with somebody who was really into biology and biotech. So I decided I'd throw a little of that in there, and they made these. And this is just I typed that in, I got that. I can't create anything like that. Then, here's the ones with the plants and mycelium, because we were talking a lot about, mycelium and et cetera. And it made these for me. So yeah, and if you all have not used Midjourney, I was just using Discord. I typed in fashionable digital shoes made of remarkable plants and mycelium with lots of tendrils, and I get that. I'm sure y'all have tried this. If you haven't, you should try it. It's ridiculous. You can name any code whatsoever, and it will spit it out for you. I am not. Oh, let me see. I think I have this. Okay, I'm not gonna go into too much of that. Just so you all know, I do use ChatGPT and Midjourney in my classes. I require that the students use them. I also require that the students always let me know if they used an AI, what their prompt was, and then how they changed the outcome, because it's incredibly important. But why am I bringing up AI in the middle of all of this? You know, this talk is supposed to be on Web3, because the NFT was supposed to protect digital labor for things that you spent a lot of time creating. But now we just can generate, you know, why go use like a stock image of something if you can just tell an AI to create it? And it's new and different every time, and it's yours and unique to you. So there is a tension there that is very interesting and complex. And so some of the tensions that are in these virtual worlds, that there is no right or wrong, there's just a tension. Centralization versus decentralization. If you study anything about cryptocurrencies or blockchains, you'll hear a lot about that. We've seen that total decentralization doesn't really work very well, because we saw the whole downfall of FTX. There was no authority, there was nobody watching, there was no backing, there was no insurance, and so there's you know, but centralization is where, you know, Facebook owns all your data and can cut you off at any time and can monetize the data in any way. So there's a tension, and finding the right balance is super important. Beautiful virtual worlds that are so, you know, exciting and beautiful to enter into are great, but they're not open, and they don't allow you to own your own data. There's open source software, which is great if you're a user, but if you're the one that created the open source software, it gets old when people use your software all the time and you never get paid for it. And the other one that I really want to, you know, talk about is abundance versus scarcity. Like I was telling you, in the perfect world, we'd all make things and share things and let everybody have everything that we made and all support each other. But it's really hard to make a living that way. And so it's strange, and I don't know the answers to these. These are the questions that I hope you all are able to figure out, because y'all are just now entering into, you know, your fields of expertise, and then the workforce, and, you know, running the world. So here's another one. I just wanted to throw this out because I think it's really interesting. This guy, who's Teddy Pangia, is a friend of mine, he uploaded his avatar, which many of us create avatars, except for that it has it's got a phygital component, which is his heartbeat is connected to his avatar. And he hopes to start to upload other biometrics that will simulate his being. And, you know, then you can start to kind of look at health and how to manage health through, you know, avatar simulations. So this is sort of the first of his experiments in that area. But again, you know, the goal of all of this is to create useful and complex experiences that make our worlds better, right? And, you know, again, back to those tensions, it's a complicated task ahead of us all, and we have to learn all of these concepts and figure out what is good in the virtual world, what's better in the virtual world, how does it impact our real lives, what's better in real life that shouldn't be virtualized, and how can the two connect and make more dynamic, more our experiences and lives more more better. Just, just making our lives better and making our communities better and making everybody have a better existence. So, I think this is sort of, I teach a class called Self and Communities in the Metaverse, and it starts off, it's not a technical class. I mean, we do some technical things, but it's not like a deep coding class. What it is where we ask, what is self when we create an avatar? What is safe space, or what is comfortable in a virtual world? Do we need to make a home or a private space in a virtual world? And then what is community? So here's some of my students, and you can see she is trying to make what is self. She's using Ready Player Me. Ready Player Me. Ready Player Me. This is MetaHuman. I don't know if you all played with this. It's free and open to the public. And this is me attempting to make myself. And I don't know if you can see the circle at the top. You can take different faces and start to blend them together and then start to sculpt. And it's incredibly real. And so here's a student working with MetaHuman. And then I told them to make their aspirational avatars using Midjourney. These are 8 of my students' aspirational avatars that they sort of feel represent who they are, right? Because you don't have to, be human, even. So how will the metaverse impact the real world? That's up to you all. Advice I give to everybody. And that's why I ask the questions. I hope for you all to ask the questions. And then here's some resources, things I recommend that you all do to kind of get started on all of this. And yeah, and that's me. Thank you. Now, I'm going to go back to this slide so that y'all can make sure you take it.
Okay.
Oh, back? Yeah. Any questions?
Yeah. Is there any questions?
Yeah.
We have one there.
Hello? Okay.
Hi.
I wanted to ask your opinion about something. I think this is going to be a great example between the thing you're talking about, decentralization versus centralization, because I think that's an important matter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've seen 1 year ago a scandal where someone got his account stealed. I don't remember the platform, but someone got his account stealed, and that person that hacked his account sold one of his NFTs. And when he got his account back, he couldn't do anything because there is no regulation. And yeah, you're supposed to protect your own assets. And that was a big scandal where this whole technology got made fun of it because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I wanted to know how can we teach people to better protect their digital assets?
Yeah.
And what's your opinion about this matter? Because I was just curious.
So I've been in the blockchain space since 2017 and started with CryptoKitties, and I've invested in lots of cryptocurrencies and lots of NFTs. I'm pretty knowledgeable. I have a background in computer science. I had a Bored Ape Yacht Club mutant ape. If you hadn't heard about them, that was the picture of the guy blowing the bubble, right? Those are the most valuable NFTs. I bought my mutant ape with a couple of family members because I couldn't afford to buy it by myself. It got stolen. Yeah. And I know who has it to this day. I'm actually going to write a book about this because it's really funny. My ape is named Hippie Johnny, and the person that bought it is named, well, it got traded a couple of times. All of the people that I talked to, it's now owned by a guy named Cunny Juice. I'm not even going to talk about that. But anyway, you're right. The problem is, like, if you have a car and it gets stolen, and then the thief sells it to someone, and then the police find the car belongs to you, right? And you know, there's insurance or other things that can happen to the person who bought the car from the thief, right? But and different countries have ruled in different ways for that. Both England and Singapore have ruled that it would belong to you, the person who got it stolen from. But there's no way to implement that law in a global world. So they can say it belongs to you, but there's nothing anybody can do. This is why this is why there does need to be some kind of insurance protection, because I'm a pretty, sure, I learned my lesson. I learned that I need to be like extra careful and I need to but it wasn't hacked, I was socially engineered. So blockchain is not hackable, but we're hackable. Yeah, so you know, so yeah, it's a big deal, and that's why I'm not a complete believer in total decentralization and my keys, my wallet, and you know, just you know, I don't want to be a bank. I don't want to be a person who just, but at the same time, I don't want my data stolen. So we've got to find we've got to find a middle ground. So great question, yeah.
Okay, are there any more questions? Okay, let's.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm an artist, and quite honestly, this was a bit enlightening in some aspects because I did not understand the concepts a lot beforehand. You say NFTs are basically digital goods and they protect artists, but from what we've already seen on the internet, it can be used to do the inverse thing.
It could be what?
It can be used to do the complete reverse thing. Art can get stolen from artists and used as NFTs. So
right.
Does it really do any good?
Yeah. So true. I mean, the thing is that, you know, you could be an amazing digital artist and you could sell your NFTs for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Then I could be a hack artist, right-click your image, and then sell it also as an NFT. Again, that's why we need regulations. And, you know, so Sotheby's and big companies that, you know, we need these intermediaries at times because the blockchain sort of proves, it's kind of the same as like, let's go back to Gucci. You can buy authenticated Gucci shoes, or you can go and buy some knockoff Gucci shoes. So there's a way to sort of prove that you have the real Gucci shoes as opposed to the knockoff Gucci shoes. The blockchain shows origination of, you know, if you're a famous artist, that you can prove origination on the blockchain. So it's really important. On top of all that, things that I didn't really talk about is that you can also have what's called smart contracts on your digital asset. And so every time your NFT gets sold, you can receive a royalty, you know, like 10% royalty of the cost of the reselling. So you sell it for $100 and then somebody sells it for $1 million, you get to, you know, keep the royalties. So, but there's still complexity in that. These are the problems you all have to solve. But you know, I mean, the thing is, it's a complicated world, and it's being built right now, and it's important to solve these problems, and these are problems that need to be solved. But I buy and sell NFTs on the Tezos blockchain. It's a very avant-garde, underground. I sell for not expensive. I buy and sell just some of my own art, just to play and have fun. It's a great place to experiment with, to get your feet wet, to kind of understand how it all operates, and then you can decide whether you really want to go deeper into that or not. Yeah.
Thank you for the explanation. I still think that it's a little bit risky. Right now, this metaverse, or internet number 3, as you call it, seems a little bit risky. It seems a little bit in the beginnings of what it is. It's an interesting concept, but I don't think that it's well developed enough for people to really go into it. honestly, as an artist, I feel constantly that sometimes people outside of our area make decisions and they impact us.
Agreed. That's why it's important for you to arm yourself with this knowledge and be a part of the conversation and be a part of the solution. I totally agree with you. I mean, and if you just want to stay being an artist, that's fine. But, you know, this world, we're moving in this direction. And how we create the next version of the internet really matters for you all to read philosophy and read and understand technology and help try to make these worlds where people don't get, you know, screwed over. Yeah. Yeah, but you're right. It's totally risky, and if you don't want, that's what I'm saying. I'm not here to just completely advocate. You know, I'm here to kind of get you all to start doing some learning and understand. You don't have to love this. You don't have to get involved with it at all. And yes, it's risky. I'm a perfect example. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think we had a question over there. Yeah, so one last question.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for the talk.
Sure.
Really liked it. I wanted to ask you something, which is, do you think us humans are ready as from an evolutionary standpoint, to experience living bipolarly, both in the real world and in the digital world? Do you think, personally, we're going to be mentally affected by that? Do you have that in consideration?
Do I think you'll be how affected?
Personally, like
Personally affected.
Yeah, from a well-being, mental well-being standpoint.
So you know, I don't know the answer to that, you know, but the thing is that we are moving more into the digital world, and we did see that the pandemic did create a lot of mental, you know, health issues. So I'm not advocating that we abandon the real world and just go to the virtual world. What I'm, you know, suggesting is that there are ways that the virtual world can enhance our lives. And I don't care whether it's virtual or digital or whatever. We're all looking to have better lives. And so I think what we have to do is think what is better in the virtual world and what is better in the real world. And then also very interesting areas are how the two can intersect with each other to, you know, make an even grander experience. So, you know, but at the same time, of course, just like, you know, there's dystopian, most of our science fiction is super dystopian, you know, like Ready Player One, you know, where it's just, you know, everybody's in headsets and their whole lives are falling apart and they live in these dilapidated, you know, train cars or whatever. But, you know, I think visioning a better future and writing better science fiction and understanding, you know, different types of futures is an important thing. So philosophy and humanities matter, and thinking about the kinds of things like, you know, are we ready? You know, what would make us ready? What is better? You know, what is a world we need to avoid? Those are really important concepts to think through. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, unfortunately we have no more time for questions, but if you want to make additional questions, you can do so outside at the showcase. Let's please give another round of applause to Elizabeth.